Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is directed by Martin McDonagh and stars Frances McDormand, Sam Rockwell, and Woody Harrelson. And this is the story of a woman named Mildred who comes to the local town of Ebbing, Missouri, where she wants to put up three billboards from a local advertiser on this rundown kind of street that's outside of Ebbing, Missouri, like in the title. And it basically is to send a message to the local police chief, played by Woody Harrelson, and the police overall, to get back at the police for not solving the crime of the murder of her daughter that happened a year prior. And the film deals with Frances McDormand having to confront both the police and also some of the local townsfolk as well, and her commitment on trying to find the murderer that caused all this. While at the same time, you also get she's also dealing with the other people that are involved, including her ex-husband and her son as well. And then basically, and it deals with her having to go through a lot and trying to find hope for everything to try to catch the murderer. Now, a little backstory. Now, this film was directed by Martin McDonagh, who I'm not really too familiar with. I've seen bits and pieces I've seen all of Seven Psychopaths, which I really enjoyed, but I've never seen In Bridges, or however you say it, In Bruges or In Bruges. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. His first film that he directed that starred Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. But from what I've gathered, this is a director that I've done some research on, that he apparently likes to prefer writing his movies. He likes to make movies similar to plays, basically. And watching both this and Seven Psychopaths, I can kind of see, because the script, and I can see it, because he uses basically a script that's kind of very, I don't want to make comparisons because it's kind of more of his own kind of style, but it's very Coen Brothers-esque in the sense that you have characters that are playing it very nonchalant and speaking in dialogue that is so kind of, very witty and funny at a lot, that makes you be able to believe the situations that put the characters in like grim situations, but they add comedy over it that the characters are very nonchalant about. So if you're basically, to kind of put that example, that's pretty much how the director writes some of his screenplay, that you can kind of see also, that you also see also in Seven Psychopaths as well. So when I saw the trailers for this film, it actually got me kind of really curious, because I actually really enjoy these type of films, these kind of like Fargo, like Coen Brother-y type movies, where you basically have a simple story where someone's having to look for, where it plays itself like a comedy, like a dark comedy, so to speak, where the characters are all playing it straightforward and everything, but the writing and everything from the script makes it appear to be kind of like a very Coen Brothers-esque quality to it, which I actually highly enjoy. And I will say that I was glad I got to finally see this film, because I've been hearing a lot about it, and I gotta admit that out of a lot of the movies I've seen this year, this is probably definitely one of my favorite movies of this year so far. To get some of my pros out of the way, I got to really hand it to Frances McDormand, who put an excellent job with her performance. She really puts in a lot of the stern and very edgy type of performance into her character as a mother who's just going through so much hell trying to get justice done. And when she realizes the police can't really do anything to help her, and then when she actually tries to do things in her own way, which I won't spoil, but when it goes along, you start to see why, realistically, something like that would probably happen in real life. And then another thing I really enjoy, too, was, I also got to give it to Woody Harrelson as well. Woody Harrelson I always enjoy as an actor, and he's no real different here as far as performance than some of his other roles. But I will say that he did have me laughing quite a lot throughout this film, and he definitely brought a lot of the very, straightforward type of cop roles, as the straightforward police officer or chief of police, and he really puts in a lot of great value with trying to balance out the stuff going on, where he's having to deal with not only Frances McDormand's character, but also his family life and everything too. Because I really like the scenes where he's basically teaching his daughters everything on how to fish and all that, and I thought it was very sweet. And one of the biggest highlights for this movie, the most, I think, is Sam Rockwell. Now, Sam Rockwell is one of those actors that I feel like can dive into a movie, and it seems like no matter what he plays in, whether good or bad, he'll always try to bring some kind of energy to his character and a lot of charisma, and he definitely pulls it here because he basically plays a very racist, bigoted police officer who gets into random fistfights with people. He likes to basically, verbally abuse people all the time and everything. But he goes through a lot of stuff. But as the movie goes along, you start to see that there's an arc that kind of happens to him throughout the rest of the film that I actually quite enjoyed, and I actually liked the way where his character went, and he actually had some really great moments with Woody Harrelson too, when they're kind of spitballing with each other back and forth, or bantering back and forth. And some of my other biggest praises too is the way that the dialogue kind of goes with the film is that, like I was saying kind of earlier, this director really writes great dialogue to where the characters are they're playing the situations very straight and all, but you can kind of see that they're still adding that that very nonchalant manner to where the comedy blends in very well to a point, and you really it makes it the way that it's timed and everything is so catchy for me. So I highly enjoyed the way that the screenplay was kind of written, and I also like the commentary that they added with the way that in real life, that the way that the characters are trying to speak about how it's hard to try to come up with evidence and everything, or coming up with the ways for the person that killed the daughter and everything. I actually really commended for, and I thought it was a great way of showcasing a lot of how a lot of the extreme ways that a person must go through in order to get people to understand what she's doing. Because when she does these billboards, you realize that she's just trying to she goes to the most extreme limits to try to get where she needs to be. But another pro I also give too is I like the way that the film is also capturing the very small town kind of feel of it, because kind of like what they did with earlier movies this year, like Wind River. I like that these crime type movies that take place in these kind of small areas really get you into the environment and the world that's surrounding this in the film. I like these kind of small town type areas that things can happen, because I believe it more when it takes place in these type of areas than other films that take place in big cities and stuff. So I'm glad that we have another film like Wind River that takes place in more of a smaller town setting. So, and it's also a murder film as well. There's more I can go into detail with, but this is also why I don't really want to spoil much of the movie, because I really do highly recommend it, and I really feel like McDonagh is going a lot of ways as a director, and I really am, looking forward to his next movies that he's going to be bringing out, because I think this director is really going places. Because now it makes me want to go watch In Bruges with Colin Farrell finally, and then maybe rewatch Seven Psychopaths. Now, if I had like any minor things, it's not necessarily a con, but it's more of like a kind of something I was kind of more interpreting. I won't spoil anything, but the way the movie's kind of headed in a certain direction, it does kind of throw me off for parts, because I'm kind of wondering, like, in my head, like, okay, is it leading to somewhere big? Because it really feels like we're going somewhere with this. I'll leave it there, because I really don't want to give anything away. But I will say that if you can really interpret the way the film is kind of going in this direction they took, I say by all means, that's something that I would honestly would have to probably, if I ever made a separate video, I would probably discuss it on that or in the comments, because that's really something that a lot of people are probably either going to not like too much, or if it's going to be something that's very genius basically. So I'll leave it at that, because I really do want y'all to kind of check it out and give your own interpretation on it. If I have like really any small little cons, I would say that a couple times the tone of the film does kind of feel a little off-putting, where some of the characters do feel like they're in situations that do kind of feel that are supposed to be grim, but the comedy parts are kind of intertwined with it. That kind of makes you feel. That kind of made me feel a little off-putting. Like, okay, am I supposed to laugh or am I supposed to feel sad in this part? So I will say one of those. A couple of times that did have me happen. That did happen for me. Another part was there is a part. I'm not going to say what happens, but there is a part where we actually see a CGI deer, and I thought that the deer looked a little too. It wasn't rendered properly. I didn't really think it looked too good. So that's one of my little minor cons I had for the film. But overall, though, I highly love 3 Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri. It's definitely something I'll own on Blu-ray and definitely check out again. I'm going to give 3 Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri a 9.5 out of 10. Now, here's another quick update. For those of you who have been following my channel, if you notice that in one of my last live streams I did, which was Alan Wake, the Signal, or I'm sorry, the Writer, basically, I wanted to also give an update on the channel as well. So if you notice lately, there hasn't really been a lot of movies that me and Eddie have been reviewing lately, and the reason being is because we've had some personal things going on lately, so we haven't really went to watch anything recently in the theaters. So we apologize. There hasn't been a lot of movies that we've been checking out lately, but we'll definitely be watching The Disaster Artist when that comes out, and also we're going to be doing an epic discussion of the Star Wars films leading up to, or hopefully leading up to or after Last Jedi comes out. So be looking forward to that because we're going to try to get a collaboration going on with some other friends of ours that have watched the movies as well. And so we would really appreciate all y'all's feedback on those coming up as well, and be looking forward to them. And for those of you who have also checked out 3 Billboards in Ebbing, Missouri, let me know in the comments of what you thought about it. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other reviews here. And I'll be seeing you in my next review. I'll see you later.